You're listening to Finding My Own Weird, where we'll follow yours truly on a journey to discover my own authentic weird self. I'm your host, Christine Lassiter. Joining me will be amazing guests who found their own formula and are living and thriving as their own wonderfully weird selves. So hold on tight, it's about to get weird. Moving is just a whole journey, isn't it? I have spent most of my life in and around my hometown of 5,000. And that's just all I knew. But I did keep having this idea of breaking free. My family was very country, but I had this one aunt in Houston who was a city girl. And I looked up to her with her dyed hair and her makeup and her stylish clothes. And she just made the city look so appealing. I did manage to test the water a few times. My cousin Ryan, son of said city slicker aunt, and I had always talked about living together. We were the same age, and out of all of the cousins, of which there were many, we seemed to have the most in common. So at 18, I took the plunge and I moved to Bryan College Station. As for living together, let's just say that was better in theory than in real life. But it was still cool to venture out on my own and to be a grown up for the first time and just to try to figure myself out. My next move was to Galveston with said city slicker aunt. She and her boyfriend at the time had an RV park, so they invited me to come up and stay. And I stayed in this itty bitty, teeny tiny little apartment that was just right above the water. I really did feel far away this time because instead of being 3 hours, I was 6 hours from home. My aunt did her own thing and I did mine. I got this job at this Christian dress shop on the Strand. So, what makes it a Christian dress shop? Well, it was owned by these Christians, and there was scripture on everything everywhere. And they made their own line of clothes. Picture Little House on the Prairie. Do you know what a broomstick skirt is? It goes from your waist all the way down to your toes. And after you take it out of the wash, you have to twist it up really tight and you have to shove it into the leg of some pantyhose. So when it dries, it has all these creases in it. Because what I love is clothes that make you have to work for it. And then these tops, man, they would have made Ma Ingalls proud. They were the same fabric and same pattern as the skirt. Long sleeves, all the way up to your neck, and then there was just no break in the pattern. It was really awful, old world style clothes. And we actually had to wear these as employees. I stayed there in Galveston for a short time, only about 4 or 5 months. It just wasn't working for me. Galveston's not a young people's place, and I was like 20 or 21. So I ended up moving back to College Station with my cousin's then girlfriend. We'd gotten to be good friends, and so I moved into an apartment there with her for a while. And so I explored. I explored being away, being an adult, spreading my wings. And that worked out for a little bit. But I did end up going back to my hometown and living there. I eventually got married the first time. And then came my next big move. My husband and I were not doing well. Well, actually, we'd never had a good relationship, but it was deteriorating from bad to worse. He ended up getting transferred to Mesa, Arizona. And I said, yeah, let's do it because if things are bad here, it'll definitely be better when it's just the two of us, where there's no buffers and there's no anything. And on top of that, I had a 1 year old and I was pregnant with my second child, very pregnant. So we went out to Mesa and I didn't have a car. I was pregnant and had a toddler and I didn't go anywhere and I didn't do anything. I didn't even explore Mesa. I couldn't even tell you a thing about it at this point. We knew it was over before the second child was born. So after she came along, I moved back home. I stayed at home for years and years and years. And it wasn't until I did the visit to Portland, and I've talked about this many times, where I was like, it's time to make another move. We'd been through a lot with some mental illness in my family and some struggles, and we were just at the bottom of the bottom. I knew that we needed a change of scenery. Portland had just lit me up, and I determined right then and there that that's where we were going to be. So this time, when I loaded all my stuff, it was different. I was making a move for me. I knew at this point in my life at 43 that if I didn't change something, nothing would ever change. So I packed up everything and my two youngest kids, My oldest son was already an adult and living on his own. And we moved up here. And it's home. It's really home. I think you just have to find a place that you fit into and that fits into you. And sometimes the only way to change your situation is to change your view. And so I'm here now. I'm in this weird place, in this weird community. And it's gorgeous and it's challenged me and it's changed me. It's fun and interesting and quirky. And it's all the things I ever wanted and all the things I never knew I needed. And I'm just so happy to be here. Uprooting is no walk in the park, but sometimes it's the only way to find where you truly belong. Shifting your view can entirely alter your perspective. Here in this weird community, I found happiness. It wasn't a breeze, but looking back, not a single regret. If you're not content where you are, shake things up a little bit. Step outside your comfort zone and explore and watch as it transforms your life. Our next guest, Blake Olson, did just that. From filming movies as a kid to having his own production company, he explored how changing his view changed his point of view. Welcome, Blake Olson.
Hi, Blake. Thanks for joining me on Finding My Own Weird.
Hi, good to see you.
You too. So I actually met you at the Sleestacks Big Adventure, and you had a pretty big part of that, and we will definitely be talking about that.
Yep, I was a big sweaty mess trying to pack up my equipment, and it's like,
Well, that's part of the deal with that, though.
Right.
Today we're having you in to really talk about your journey, and we're going to start from the beginning. So, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Green Bay and Appleton, Wisconsin. Appleton's a pretty small town, but Green Bay is pretty big for the Packers.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So sports were a really big thing in Wisconsin. If you didn't like the Green Bay Packers, you were a little ostracized here.
It's kind of like Dallas Cowboys or something.
Right, right.
Whatever.
So when I was growing up, I was put into a bunch of different sporting programs by my dad, and I would mostly just pick dandelions on the soccer field and be like, oh, that looks really like, oh, you know.
You might be more like my son than I anticipated.
Yeah, and after every sport under the sun tried, I just I gravitated more towards arts and painting and drawing and my own thing.
Did your parents or was your dad okay with that?
Not really. I had to do several chores in order to get to where I wanted to do and do what I wanted. So
you had to earn your way to doing your art
my
stuff.
own thing. Yeah.
It's hard for those dads that have an ideal for their sons for that not to be realized in the kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, he was a big swimming coach person.
Oh.
He broke his record in high school for fastest lap. I don't know. It was butterfly or something. So
just some one of those sport things.
Yeah, he wanted two kids that were exactly like that, sports, doing that sort of thing, and it turned out to be me and my brother. He is a drum corps percussion teacher, and I make movies. So you know, it was opposite left field for him. So
with that not being kind of the direction that he wanted you to go, did you find that difficult? Was there kind of strife with you and him on that?
Yeah, we did fight a lot about basically me being able to do these things and him not wanting me to do these things.
Right.
He was he is a very complex man, but yeah.
So were you involved in special extracurricular things that had to do with art? Did you in school?
Oh yeah. When I was 10, I grabbed our family camera and I started filming little short videos with my friends. And it just kind of spiraled from there. We just kept creating more and more. I started with this show called Bird and Dog.
You actually made
like
It wasn't just like recording.
oh no, it wasn't
It
like
was shows.
skits. It was like episodes of like this series called Bird and Dog. I took my dog's toy, basically. Do you know those like giant blue long toys that have the little dog at the end? It's got little floppy ears.
I know, but that's
Anyway,
okay.
it was
I
just
get
like
the gist. Yeah.
it was a dog toy that I took from their bin, and then this stuffed parakeet that I had, and I would basically puppet them and like create little adventures that they would go on. They would go in space. They would go back in time, like all these little adventures that I put them on. They like met their evil dimension selves, which I had Snoopy, and I think it was a chicken. So I thought that was
That's actually brilliant.
yeah, I know, right? So I started doing those videos, but then we started doing like other videos outside of that, like, you know, with actually me in person. But my parents didn't want me to actually show my face on the internet at first.
Right.
So
I forget you're very, very young.
Yeah.
The internet was a thing when you were young.
Right. I mean, I was still 12, you know, and they didn't want, they
get it.
didn't really know, you know,
Right.
what that would be like for me. So I would wear a bandana and some sunglasses, and I was awesome, man. I was just this
Awesome Man.
persona of awesome, man. So I would have adventures as well with that character, like doing different things, you know, interacting with people. And some of my first like longer projects was like I did this one movie when I was in middle school where actually my character went back in time. It's like a Terminator plot type of thing.
Right.
Where someone went back in time to kill me in order to stop me from making videos with like Bird and Dog and everything. So I basically like was going back in time to stop them from killing me as well. Is very convoluted for just fart jokes and
Because you were 12.
Yeah,
Middle
yeah.
school. Yeah.
yeah. So I spiraled into basically doing like longer movies and things like that. I did a horror movie. And then when I got into high school, there was this program called video production.
Oh.
So it was basically all about creating these little videos and, you know, learning the craft and, you know, learning how to make it better. So I learned a lot from my teacher and kind of improved it. And then I started doing videography work outside of that.
So did you ever show your teacher some of your earlier work?
Oh, yeah. He was a very strange man because he would give a lot of like constructive criticism. Like he would give notes on that, but I was like 12, and it's like I'm not going to think about like overlapping my cuts at 12. You know, it's like, oh yeah, you should have done this and that. And that.
Well, you can redo them now with all the notes
Right.
and then take them back to him and say, I took the notes.
Right.
I've redone it as a 24-year-old, and this is what it is.
Yeah, 100%. No, and his name was Aaron Rettler. He was a big inspiration for me, you know, like actually doing the thing that I wanted to do, but just kind of improving my craft.
Right.
You know, he taught me a lot about, you know, how to operate a camera and how to kind of be a little bit more versatile and like what I need to do in an editing bay in order to make it better.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's great. So you had already been passionate about it. You started doing it in high school, learned more about it, and then you said you moved on and you actually were doing it outside of school.
Right. Yeah. I was taking on any project under the sun. I was actually in a few. So I was in theater as well.
Okay.
So I was just like background characters, like painting sets, you know, things like that for local theaters. And I was a part of this one theater show called Vagabond Halfback, which was basically a theater show about this football player called Johnny Blood.
Oh, a football player?
Yeah. Even the theater shows were about football.
Of course they were.
In Wisconsin,
Of
you know.
course.
I met a lot of interesting people there, and I was just like, well, they had a hard time advertising themselves. And I was like, well, why don't we like interview the people that are part of this show, and like tell what it's about, tell a little bit about the play. So I interviewed 3 people, the main cast, and then everybody loved it. Everybody was so appreciative of the interviews I did, and then other theaters started wanting that too. And other theaters that I was working for, I would like contact out and like, hey, would you like this as well? Because I noticed a lot of local theaters in Wisconsin, like, did not have great representation online.
Right.
So I wanted to bring them into advertising themselves online. So I started working with about 7 theaters in Wisconsin that were just, small mom and pop operations, scaling up to maybe you have a little bit of a budget. But I would help them advertise themselves because they really didn't have an opportunity to do that themselves, because with theaters, they don't have the license to actually show the actual show.
Right.
So this interview thing was a workaround around that. So like you could show the play going on in B-roll of these interviews,
right,
as long as you don't include the audio.
Right.
So that's kind of how I was able to help out all of these local theaters in basically producing their shows and keeping up their ticket sales.
So there was enough theaters around. You said like 7, 8 theaters. There was enough in your area that you could do that for that many?
It was spread out a decent amount. I would sometimes have to drive an hour and a half in order to pick up this sort of work. But it was the type of work that I loved doing. I loved being a part of all of these, theaters that didn't have representation and didn't have a way to really boost themselves. And I offered a cheap solution. I offered my services like probably a fifth of the actual price, but I didn't care about that. I just wanted to help them out. And, I had enough theaters that I was able to make a living and also do some side work as well.
Right.
Yeah, and they, it was a decent distance apart, but
Sure.
There was a decent amount of them that wanted me to help out.
Well, that's cool. I mean, did it both scratch the itch of filmmaking and, just wanting to be supportive of this type of art?
Yeah, because I was very interested in theater, growing up. But, like my skills were in video,
Right.
like I knew more about a camera than I did about anything else.
Right.
So like being a background actor was what I could do in that moment until I would start bringing my camera on the shoots or the rehearsals.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So did people get really excited about doing it? I mean, the people that were being interviewed?
Some would be like,
I mean, like,
really,
they don't get into this because they're super shy and reserved.
Right. But some people really didn't like being in front of a camera, but, powered through and were troopers,
Isn't it funny how some people can be so okay on stage in front of a whole big audience, but you put them one-on-one and they're like stumbling and...
And, I'm the exact opposite. One-on-one, I'm, like, great, which is why I love those interviews. But, like, on a big stage, I'm just like, ooh, I can hear my heart pounding in my feet.
So how long did you do that?
I did that for about 4 or 5 years. I started my production company, which was called Mindless Productions, right when I was 16.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And then I was working for clients like while I was in high school, and also I had a side job outside of that. And I didn't get any sleep. So
Yeah, so people weren't going, What are you talking about, kid? Yeah.
I sometimes I would have to lie about my age
All
to
right.
them. It's like, oh yeah, I'm 20.
It's okay.
You know,
It doesn't
you
matter
should-
now.
Right. Exactly. They've already hired me, and
Yeah.
you know, now I'm in a different city.
Yeah.
So
What are you going to do?
right.
Ask the money back? No.
no, but I'd have the skills, but no one would believe me if I didn't.
Right.
Uh,
And the proof was in the pudding. You
Yeah.
actually, showed what you could do.
I'm-
And to do that for 5 years is remarkable.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it might have been a little bit longer than that because it kind of came to a halt during the pandemic. So when the pandemic hit, all of my clients were in the event business.
Yeah, and there's nothing happening.
Exactly. It was an order that any event place needs to be shut down.
Right.
I had clients outside of that, but like my bread and butter for my business was theaters.
Absolutely.
So I had to pack up my gear and just put it aside because I couldn't even make my own movies at that point too.
Yeah, because everything's closed. You can't even, unless you're making it in your apartment.
No, and I tried. This is something that I tried doing then that I'm trying to do now, and which is what a little bit I did during the premiere, which
Right.
is I really got into live streaming. So I got into the technical aspect of putting on a show for the internet. Basically what I was trying to do is I was trying to bring a bunch of artists together because at the time I was doing some side stuff with musicians as well in Green Bay, and I was trying to put on this COVID live stream show of hey, all of these artists, you come to this basically hermetically sealed room, and you wear your mask, you're
6 feet. Yeah.
6 feet apart, and we put on a show, we have you on, and then you leave, and then I have to clean the whole space, then we bring someone else.
Right.
Sadly we weren't able to do that.
Yeah.
But that aspect of putting on a live show and bringing on multiple people still kind of stuck in my head,
Right.
So that's
What did you do during the pandemic to survive, I guess, financially?
I had a hard left turn, and I was just like, oh my God, if my whole career can be stopped, at a single moment, I gotta really think about what I'm doing. So I was
there's always football.
yeah, there's always the Green Bay Packers. I can always go back to them. I started doing van driving for a retirement home, and I started studying to be a CNA.
CNA?
Yep.
I used to be in senior healthcare for 13
Really?
years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I was doing that whole time because I ultimately fell out of it because I was like, oh, the medical industry is very dicey in some areas, I felt terrible for the patients that I was driving.
It's not an easy world to work in.
No.
You can get very attached.
Yeah.
And
I'm a person that gets very attached to people.
And even though that is a wonderful group of people, you're also with them in their later days.
Yeah.
You have to have a special heart for
Yeah,
that. It's a very challenging field.
I was only in the field for 2 years, and I just couldn't bear it anymore. It's just a combination of making connections and losing them, and then also just seeing people be rejected from these facilities.
The treatment.
Yeah, they really need help, but they have...
Oh, you don't have enough money.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have the right insurance. You're
sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was very disheartening to hear and see, and then also I was being overworked.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. So I ultimately got out of it and then went back to doing video. I started doing video for this company called Champion Video in Wisconsin, and they were doing like concerts and like basically school pageants, and I was just camera op. I had a lot of great experiences with them. And then at a certain point, I was just starting to think, oh my God, am I going to live in Wisconsin for the rest of my life? I should start exploring and I should start going someplace else.
Yeah, because Wisconsin is its own little different world.
I was going to say its own little slice of cold hell.
It does get a bit, you and I were talking about weather before we started all of this.
Yeah.
It gets a little chilly there.
No, it does.
I've never actually been there, and I certainly have never been in a place that it gets as cold
really
as Wisconsin does.
Yeah,
so I don't even have a kind of a barometer to kind of understand.
I just keep thinking about like how probably a week or two ago there was still snow on the ground,
right?
Out there, and it just basically is like you get 2 or 3, well, like you get consistent snow, right? But
Right.
like there's 2 or 3 like dangerous level blizzards that's just like it gets to a foot
Nah.
of snow. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, and then you'd still have your boss being like, "Hey, could you come into work?" It's like, no, I'm not. It's like, "Oh, but I can come pick you up. It's okay."
The one of the weirdest things I found when I moved here is a couple of things. If it gets too hot, they just don't have school.
Yeah.
I'm from Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, although we have air conditionings in every building ever, but like that concept of like, oh, it's too hot to go to school today was a weird thing to me.
Yeah.
And the other thing was when it snows, people abandon their cars on major highways and interstates and stuff. And I'm like, where did you go?
Yeah.
Like somebody would have had to drive to come pick you up.
Right.
Why is your car just on the
Or
side of the
you're
road?
like walking.
So many.
Yeah, no.
So many.
I didn't realize how drastic 2 or 3 inches is for people in Portland. Like no judgment, because like I'm used to this.
Right.
Like I know how to handle
you come from like
it.
the frozen tundra.
Yeah, so like I know how to handle it, but it just was a little bit. It took me aback to be like, oh, they canceled my work and it's only like an inch on the ground.
Right.
And like, I could drive in this. Like I'm fine.
Well, I normally would be able to, but we live at the top of a 45-degree hill, and I mean at the tippy top of a long hill.
That is something that I've learned about exploring Portland. It's just like it's really hilly,
little
so
bit of hills going on.
Yeah. I have come back a little bit. So from when it does snow or there is ice on the ground, it's like I'm not going that direction because
I know now.
I know that I'm going to be faced with a steep.
And cars are going to be parked. Like you're going to have no space in between. Right. And so was it just the weather that made you consider moving, or were there other factors in that?
So I had a cousin out here as well. She works at PSU, and she's been telling me great things about Oregon for a long time. I've been seeing her pictures, and it's kind of like stoked the fires in me to be like, well, I gotta go see Oregon for myself.
Right. It looks so beautiful. Is she similar to your age?
No, she's a little bit older than me. She's I think 39 now, so
You better be right about that. She might listen.
Oh God. Sorry, Becky.
And now a word from our sponsor, me. Hey there, it's Christine Lassiter, your very favorite mortgage broker. Today I want to give you 6 tips on what not to do when getting a mortgage. Number 1, you love the house and you already have a vision board on Pinterest on how you want to decorate it. Hold off on buying that gold-plated toaster and the diamond-studded vacuum cleaner, especially if you charge it or have to open a new line of credit. Your mortgage approval won't sparkle any brighter with the bling. Number 2, Unless your job involves juggling flaming torches, stick with it for now. Changing careers mid mortgage might wreak havoc for the underwriters, and your mortgage approval could go up in flames. Number three, thinking of creating your own Ozark by moving large sums of money around? Hold that thought and chat with your mortgage pro first. In the mortgage world, we don't just ask you to show us the money, we also need you to show us the bank statements. Number four, debts, collections, and that ancient IOU from your cousin Vinny. Keep them around for now, unless we give you the green light. Paying off debts in the middle of your mortgage can cause red flags and complications. If a debt needs to be paid off for your mortgage, coordinate that with your mortgage professional to pay it off at closing. Number five, cash is king, but it's also the class clown of the financial world. If you don't trust banks and have all your money shoved under your mattress, it will be impossible to source for the lenders, and it will be a no go for your loan. Money needs to come from a verifiable source and be seasoned in an account for a lender to be able to use it for your loan. Number six, credit report pulls are like selfies, best in moderation. Too many, and your credit score might start feeling a little camera shy. Consult with us before your credit report turns into a Hollywood red carpet event. Too many pulls means a lower score, which means higher rates. Not a great trajectory. Mortgages are serious business, but that doesn't mean we can't have a laugh along the way. Now let's see if we can get you into your dream home, and then you can decorate it with all the bling your heart desires. To talk about getting pre approved or just to ask some general mortgage questions, you can contact me, Christine Lassiter, mortgage broker at Two Rivers Mortgage, at Christine at tworiversmtg.com. That's CHRISTINE at TWORIVERSMTG.com. Or you can call or text me at 903-343-1370. Licensed in Oregon and Washington, NMLS 2248608. And now back to your program.
So, but you saw it, you thought, I'm going to go visit. It looks
Yeah,
gorgeous.
so I packed up my car with camping gear, and I was working during the pandemic, so I used my stimulus money to just basically, book a bunch of hotels, and
Right.
whatever hotels I couldn't afford, I would pop up a tent.
Right,
you know?
sure.
So me and my best friend, Xander, who is also my business partner in Mindless Productions, we traveled out, basically driving 8-hour days. We would make stops. We'd go to South Dakota, the Badlands, and Mount Rushmore, and we'd go to Mount Rushmore, and then we'd go to Yellowstone Park, But the ultimate goal was to get to Oregon, because we wanted to really explore Oregon. So we started in Portland and then made our way down. So we went Portland, I think it was either Lincoln City, Eugene, Bend, and then we made our way back. So we would spend a few days in each one of these cities, and I just fell in love. I loved the food carts. It's some of the best food I've ever had
Right.
is here in Portland. It's way better than just. So I eat a little bit more, like a little bit less meat than the average Wisconsinite. I like a good Impossible Patty, or like, a vegan, alternative. I don't want to always have to have,
A big
the cow.
steak and a big burger. Yeah.
Right. And, in Wisconsin growing up, it was just like, it was a part of the culture. It was very, cheese, cheese heads,
Yeah,
Yeah. No, nothing wrong with cheese. I love cheese.
sure.
But like, I just didn't, I loved the alternatives that were out here for food. And like when I was walking around the city, I remember distinctly there was one person that was here that like they were driving in this black SUV with a bunch of stickers on it and like rims that were like chrome colored, And then he would roll down his window. It's like, hey, you all look beautiful out there. You stay great. And then just rolled away. And I was just like, I've never gotten that in all of my life in Wisconsin, like someone just being that nice
Just
randomly.
because.
Yeah, just because.
No agenda.
No.
Just wanting to make you feel good for the
Exactly.
moment.
And there was like so many people that I had met here that were like genuine, like wanted genuine conversation or, wanted to get to know me. It felt like completely different in Wisconsin, like random people you'd meet. It'd be like closed off and, judgmental, here, like no one really, minds or no one really cares, It's just a very freeing thing.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Texas, I know.
So, Portland, Lincoln City, Eugene Bend. Something just stuck out about Portland, and I thought I would have the best possible way of, helping out people, artists, if I went to Portland. So as soon as we got back to Wisconsin, we literally worked our butts off until we got just a massive amount of money to, one, move back, and to get a place and, secure it.
So you just, you came here just to see how beautiful it was, and then you're like, oh, that's my spot.
Yeah,
that's
like
my place.
I have to come back here. Mm-hmm. Like there's no alternatives. I have to live here now. So.
How did your family react to that?
Oh, my mom was excited for me, but terrified for me at the same time.
Going to the city, that very liberal city.
Yep.
So this was so recently that it was through or after the pandemic when Portland was on the news.
Yeah,
24/7.
This
was the stupidest stuff.
This was like, this was like.
That's why your mom's like
about
excited,
a few
but
months.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, there were so many people in Wisconsin that was just like, "Are you sure you want to move there now?" And I was like, "Yeah." Well,
you had been here.
Exactly.
You saw it.
Yeah, it wasn't a city of people throwing Molotov cocktails at me, or wanting to stab me. It's such a weird thing to, a lot of people tried to discourage me from moving here because of those reasons. Mm-hmm. But it was just completely not true. It was just kind of like, because we were, in Wisconsin, we would read stories that were just like fabricated of like things that were happening in Portland. And it's just like,
I was here when all of that was going on. Uh-huh. I had people in Texas tell me what a liar I was, even though I was on the Wall of Moms and live streamed the protests.
Yeah.
And I was there and could show nothing had happened when we got pepper sprayed. Yep. And I got called a liar more times than you can imagine from people over 2,000 miles away who had watched the news or the president or just Facebook.
So, there was a lot of people concerned for my safety moving out there. It's like, no, I saw the city. But also, a part of, I loved that so many people in Portland, wanted to speak and, have their voices be heard,
absolutely.
And that's something that is completely opposite in Green Bay or in, Appleton. People don't come together. Right. Usually, and if they do, it's in way smaller groups than something along those lines.
Well, in Texas, when they do, it's usually for something that is destructive, not like destructive in harmful to large groups of people, minorities and things like that. So, even though Wisconsin and Texas are far away, there's a lot of similarity there.
A lot of similarities. Just one's hot, one's cold, I guess.
Yeah. So you got everything, you packed up, you and your best friend?
Yeah. Well, I was living with two people, two of my best friends and me. We literally sold all of our stuff that we could and that we didn't want anymore, that didn't make sense to move.
Right.
And we literally filled our cars to the brim with everything. We had a place out there, but we didn't have jobs. We didn't have like really much lined up, but like we were
And
just...
the third person had not been on your trip.
No, they didn't.
So they
it
were
was
just like, oh, I'm going to trust your words on this.
Yep.
Plus,
I mean,
my two roommates are moving out. I got to do something.
Exactly. And they always wanted to move out of Wisconsin too. So
Yeah.
it's just like, well,
I
we all
want to go
want
to this magical land that you speak of.
Exactly. Luckily, they love it here. They're a food chef, so like they're right at they're right at home.
They're like they found their sweet spot.
Yep.
So you pack up, you leave, but you say you have no job, you don't know where you're going to live, you nothing.
No. Well, I wasn't really too concerned about the job
You
because
got a cousin up here.
Well, yeah, but most of my life I have scrounged around for gigs
You're a
or
hustler.
exactly. I have done a lot of things under the sun, so like I wasn't concerned about finding work. So I would do a few videography projects, but I would also do things like sell kombucha to fitness places, or Craigslist jobs that are a little sketchy, but
Right.
but I needed to make a paycheck.
Yeah.
Until I started working for places like OCC and Moda Center, and I really fell in love with doing stagehand work too, and that was able to afford, in order to do other projects and things in Portland.
So you worked at the Moda Center.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest show you ever saw
Biggest show I ever saw
at the Moda Center?
at the Moda Center. The only one that comes to mind right now is WWE. I got to deconstruct the ring for WWE. It was kind of fun.
Wow.
One of my big goals is I'm going to be a camera op for that show. So if I keep doing it, maybe it'll happen.
My second guess was the girl I went to high school with. She made the Undertaker's hat.
What? Oh, that's cool.
Made the hat.
Yeah, the famous hat.
The famous hat. That is her.
Wow.
And
That
she's
is cool.
She's just a gal from East Texas.
I'd imagine it come from East Texas. I don't know why. It's just that hat just kind of...
That tracks. That sounds about right. Yeah. So what a funny thing.
And also when I moved out here, I started working with the Portland Sleece Stack. I was doing videos with him and videos with different artists as well. But
Our friend Brent.
Yep, Brent. I helped him out with a few different projects until there was this large movie that he was taking on his wing, and he basically Video of the Future was directing it, but they were a little busy, so they asked me to do it. So I agreed, and then the ball started rolling from there, and
it turned into quite the beast.
Oh yeah. It took a while to the shooting day was it was smooth in my opinion. We were in a little bit of a time crunch. Basically we started at I think I started at 5 a.m. and I got there, and then I basically started setting things up, and then started making sure everyone was good on water and food, and then we only had till 5 p.m. where basically half of our crew was going to be gone for the day, so we had to fit in everything in that movie.
And there was a lot of moving parts to that whole thing.
Right. There was a lot of different coverage that we needed that day. And there was even things that we didn't get that were originally planned. But,
That's probably always the case.
Right. I haven't had a movie where I have covered everything yet. So,
Well, I've actually interviewed several people who have been in that. I've interviewed the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, the Unipiper, Brent, the Sleestack, Una the Mermaid. There's probably more. I've interviewed, and I actually have several more that are going to be interviewed soon. But all the people I've talked to, they had the most fun doing that. Like they truly had just an absolute blast doing that.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing to see all of them. There were so many people that I didn't know that was just like, oh, they showed up. Oh, they showed up. Or
there is an underbelly of weird characters in this city.
Oh yeah.
That I'm discovering every day.
Yeah, yeah.
Like more than people could ever know.
And I just want to film them all now. I want to go to each one and it's like, hey, do you need a video? Do you need a video?
I guarantee you where there's going to be more and more and more bigger and better projects and the opportunity to showcase all of these funky, weird people. It's so cool. The movie premiere was just awesome. To actually go in there, and I decided to go decked out full sequins. I was in my blue sequins, dress, shiny shoes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, if I was going to do it, I needed to red carpet it all the way.
Oh, yeah.
And then just to see these characters in real life, just a room full of them.
Yeah.
It was... I've never quite seen anything like that, actually. It was just the funniest, most interesting thing. And everybody was so nice and really just fun and really cool. But it just was an experience that I never even dreamed of.
Right. And I loved facilitating all of their videos in this sequence together. It was a little rough at moments, but it's something that was the first in my nature to do. I had never I've never facilitated something like that before, which was a great experience, and I loved doing the stream as well. It was great to basically. And this is something that I want to, this is something I said before, but this is something I want to do more of. I want to get collections of videos together of people, put on an event and have maybe a live, musical guest or something like that.
Right.
And do this type of show, more often.
Like a small, weird film festival
type
thing.
Yeah. But it's not under the goal of anybody wins anything. It's just a collective.
Just cool to see.
Yeah.
Cool to see all that
type
stuff.
of show. Yeah.
No, I think that is something that not only would just be so cool to see, but I think people would be interested in that. I think that a lot of people in Portland, First of all, they're not even aware of how they know that keep Portland weird. They have no clue how many
people
characters there are. How many? Just truly, it's shocking. It's
Yeah.
shocking. But also, just they don't even know there's opportunities where they could come mingle with them and come see funny, quirky things. And I think that the more that we do things like this, it normalizes weird a little bit.
Yep.
It brings people that don't necessarily, they're not characters or whatever, but they are interested in that kind of world. It brings it to where they actually can participate and they can go watch things and be a little bit closer to that weird world.
Yeah.
I think that there's such value in that.
Exactly. And what I want my part in that to be is their technician, their person of, I want to be the person that they come to and it's hey, I want to do this,
Right.
And I'm like, I got you, I know how, I know how to accomplish that. And that's let's do this.
Right. Oh, I think that's cool. So So you now have started is the Earth is Dying Productions?
The Earth is Dying Productions. I sometimes shorten it to TEID.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about that.
So basically, I have always loved helping out creators. When I started the Mindless Productions, I really had the goal to help out like anybody who's creating things in Wisconsin. The resources weren't there for Wisconsin Green Bay. I mean, it was just mostly everybody was focused on the Packers there. So like, it's hard to get attention to the arts there.
Right.
But that's what a large portion of why I moved out to Portland, because I want to be here where the artists are and I want to help them out, which is why I started the Earth is Dying Productions. I kind of have the name as kind of like, I was just like, it's a response to like how I felt after the pandemic and after all of these weird things that happened in my life, and then being, dissuaded from my ultimate goal of being, a helper to creators with my video. And I thought like, well, the pandemic is like kind of still happening. It's, the world is kind of going more and more crazy. The Earth is dying anyway. So let's make film.
Right.
Like, let's make some stuff, And that's that, like, let's throw away all of our preconceived notions about, like, I don't have time, or, like, I don't have the budget. I don't really care about any of those things. Like, I just want to help,
And that fills a spot that's so needed, because let's face it, creatives are not always big money makers. They have, most of them have day jobs, but even in that case, most of them are not making bank. They're just, living. But it is sad when things like budgets and things like that prevent creators from creating, because, well, I just will never be able to afford to do that.
Right. And that's why I'm just like, I want to, come up with things that work around those problems. Like I did with theaters in the past, they had minimal budgets, but I created a price sheet of something that they could afford that would be helpful for them and would advance their ticket sales or something like that, And that's the same thing I want to do, but for the weird people of Portland. I want to create anything that they want to create.
How are you currently kind of advertising that to the weirds of Portland?
I'm going to be completely honest. I after Sleestack's Big Adventure, I was a little burnt out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was a big undertaking for sure.
Yeah. Well, and it was a difficult edit, but we got it done, under the nick of time. And then basically I've been a little bit restful, but my approach to it moving forward is to be doing these monthly live stream events in somewhat of a smaller scale than what Sleestack's Big Adventure premiere was. I can't afford the Star Theater, but I'm looking at different places. Like there's this place that I'm really interested in, Haven PDX.
Okay.
They're like an art collective. They have a bunch of gallery shows and, different types of art shows as well. And they're very affordable, and I can bring people in, but also stream videos from people who don't want to be there.
Right.
So
well, and there's other places, like I don't know what the cost would be, but I bet it would be pretty reasonable, like Afro Studios, which is a collaborative art studio just on the southeast side. That they're actually always looking for creative projects to come and be involved with them. And I mean, it's so great here because there's so many places we don't even know about.
Right. There's so many people creating things. Then I just want to
Tap
connect
into a little
them,
bit, yeah.
tap into them and connect people. And, I still feel like I have so much of Portland that I have to explore. I mean, I've only been here like a year and a half, actually. So there's so much I still want to do with the people in this city.
Oh, and there's so many things that I actually get mad sometimes because too many things are happening on the same day and I can't do all of them.
Yeah, no.
And I get very frustrated because I want to do all of the things.
Yeah, I want to help out all the people.
Yeah.
And it's like, why did you all plan your event on the same day? I just want to.
Well, and I just joined the Weird Portland United because I do want to help that community continue to grow and to flourish. And, we're doing cool things with that. And just being a facilitator is not everybody has that skill set. And they don't know how to do those things, and they need people who do know how to do those things to come and help. Because once they connect, I mean, it's going to be like the big mushroom, the big mushroom that's the biggest organism ever that's in Oregon, that's like the biggest organism in the, I don't know if it's the country
I've
or
read
the world.
about that, yeah.
I mean, I think that's what the weirds can be here in Portland. They
Yeah,
can
just
definitely be this big,
a giant mushroom
big organism, basically.
grows together.
And it takes that connection.
And then we'll just someday take over the world.
And everybody will be weird, and they will be happy, and there will be no judgment. And
Exactly.
what a beautiful thing that'll be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
just accept the mushroom at this point.
Accept the mushroom. You have to accept the mushroom. I think Portland's getting closer to that. Of accepting the mushroom. Just don't open your shop yet.
Yeah, right.
They learned that the hard way. What a weird thing that was.
Yeah, the chocolate mushroom shop that was in downtown,
like just literally on Burnside, just where the news was every day.
Like
saying,
literally selling.
There's a line out the door every day. The news was. I'm like, it's not legal. Well, how are they doing that? And then
then they didn't.
Then they didn't.
I was just surprised how many days it was.
Took a lot of days.
Yeah, like
before they
did
got
they
raided.
need to get court orders or like?
I mean, I'm sure, but
weird.
How hard would that have been?
I don't know.
You would think that'd be like
with something.
Hey, it's on the news. We have proof, and they're
Yeah.
like, okay, here's your order. I mean, really. Really way a long time before they decided to go in and raid that. Every day I'd be like, why is it on the news again?
It's still there. Hey, no harm to them. I don't
I'm
want
like,
that.
yeah.
But I'm just surprised.
It was comical. It was just comical to me. I just thought that was funny. Like, all right, they're just going to go till, and they had to see the news that said, this is illegal, what they're doing. And they're just going to be like, nobody's knocking on our door. We're just going to keep going till they do.
Yeah.
Portland.
Right. Yeah.
Well, do you have any projects that you're currently working on?
Well, right now I'm working a lot with this group called Left Coast Comedy. They do like a series of short skits. But also I'm just building up to that live stream monthly thing.
Yeah.
As well as a movie that I've had in production for. Actually, this is something that I started a long time ago. I started this series in high school called Vince, and it was basically this bass player that was having a hard time finding their footing in a local town, and trying to actually make a living off of their art, So basically I took a little bit of my own story and a little bit of stories that I've heard of other people in Wisconsin, and I combined them together and into this show called Vince, that it was like a web series that I did. And I have this big episode that I've been working on for a while that I am still in the editing process. And now that I'm done with Sleestack's Big Adventure, and after I have my week break, which is now, I'm going to be releasing this film in the next few months.
Okay, so that is that going to be like on YouTube or?
Yeah, I'm going to be putting it on YouTube. I'm probably going to be premiering it on one of these streams that I have planned in the future. I have a few people that are interested in submitting their films and their projects for video into this stream type of thing, and then I'm going to have a musical guest, and then I'm going to show this movie.
Well, if you need any connections, like Gar that I interviewed a couple weeks ago, he's in 5 bands, like his own band, Gar, and Baby Graves, and some other bands. There's a lot of fun, interesting bands out there.
Yeah, no. And something I want to do in Portland as well is I want to work with the musicians out here. I've done a few music videos, but like I want to do more. You know,
Right.
I'm just aching to do a music video right now.
Well, and that's, I mean, I don't think you can ever run out of material.
Right.
No matter what your craft is, your art is, the inspiration, the collaborators, there's so much here. You know, I will never run out of content. I'm not even exclusively keeping this to Portland, but I have
Right.
so many in Portland.
Oh yeah,
that I don't have to
you've got
reach
a
out
long list you got to go
further.
through.
I won't have to reach out for a long time, but
There's someone that I want to put on my stream. Apparently, he did this show in a few cities in Bend. I work with him now in the stagehand, being a stagehand with OCC and Moda Center. He basically downed a bottle of hot sauce and then started singing and playing guitar. At the same
that's
time.
it's like Hot Ones. you know.
Yeah, but like singing and playing.
Nah,
Yeah.
nah.
He's interested in bringing his show back up again, but I was taken aback by that. I was just like, huh.
He's a glutton for punishment. That is,
A little bit,
that
but
could wreak havoc.
apparently he loves doing it, so, you know.
I mean, who am I to judge?
Right.
I will let people be their weird and whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
As long as they can harm themselves all they want to, as long as they're not harming anybody else. So.
It's just probably, it's probably bad on stage, but it's probably bad, like when he gets home later.
I cannot even imagine. Well, it sounds like you have, even in the short amount of time that you've been here, you've done a lot of really cool stuff and made some great connections. And it sounds like you are on just the right track to continue making those connections and continuing to really expand your weird world.
Yeah, no.
It's
I just
such
want
a great
to,
place for that.
yeah. I want to provide ideas for these people, but like also I just want to let them be them, you know.
And that's the part that I've enjoyed the most is the them part of it.
Yeah.
The part that is, the inside of all of this, because I mean they really are just incredible people to just know.
Yeah, and it's also it's just kind of fun also to see like their persona on stage, but like also like it is a part of them, but like also the person that they are outside of stage. Sometimes it's like opposites, like
completely.
Like some people like you were saying earlier, like some people on stage are just so presenting, and then when I get them in front of a camera, then they shut down.
Yeah.
And like for me, it's the exact opposite. I clam up on stage. And on the premiere, I was asked to do a speech for no one, and I'm surprised I wasn't shaking my leg up there.
Yeah, it is. It's fascinating. I hope more people will get to know our weird community.
Oh yeah.
And not just their characters, but actually get to know the people that make up that community.
Yeah.
Because they are fascinating. They're so interesting. They have such big hearts. They're doing amazing things. And, who doesn't want to know more weird.
Right. Yeah. And that's the reason why I moved out here.
And so, me too. Me too. Well, I'm definitely going to have links to everything that you're working on and ways that people can coordinate with you. And yeah, I think we can just keep continuing to just build these connections and build that big mushroom and that organism and really just grow this just huge.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. That was great.
Good.
A big shout out to Blake Olson from the Earth is Dying Productions for his fantastic contributions. Stay connected with all the exciting projects Blake is involved in by checking out the links below. Don't forget to explore Weird Portland United through the provided link for a plethora of peculiar events, entertainers, arts, and more. And make sure to follow, like, and share Finding My Own Weird to stay updated on the latest episodes. Your support means the world to me. Until next time, thanks for tuning in, and thank you for being a part of my journey in finding my own weird.